It was supposed to be a happy trip. 16-year-old Tiana Cole stood at the front desk of the fancy Hillview Grand Hotel, suitcase in hand, and a polite smile on her face. She had flown in early for a youth leadership conference. Her father, Derek Cole, was landing later that evening. She would check in, rest, and wait for him. Tiana wore jeans, a neat white top, and her hair tied in a high puff. She looked confident, calm, and ready. She had done this before. She had stayed in hotels all around the country with her dad, who often traveled for work. She showed the woman at the desk her ID and the reservation confirmation on her phone. "Hi, I'm here to check in. The room is under Derek Cole." The receptionist gave a quick glance at the screen. Then she looked back at Tiana. "Too long, too slow. Is your father with you?" the woman asked, her tone flat. "No, he'll be here in a few hours," Tiana replied kindly. "He already paid. Here's the email and his ID copy, just like the booking rules said." But the woman didn't take the phone. She leaned back and folded her arms. "I'm sorry," she said. "We don't allow unaccompanied minors in this hotel. You'll have to wait outside." Tiana blinked. "But I've stayed at hotels before." This was confirmed. "I followed all the instructions." The woman glanced around. A few people behind Tiana were now watching. The receptionist sighed and called someone on the phone. She whispered quietly. Moments later, the hotel manager came out. He was a tall white man in a suit, with a fake smile and a tight jaw. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, but he wasn't really asking. Tiana repeated her story. She spoke clearly, respectfully. She showed her email again. The manager barely looked. "Sorry, young lady. This hotel has rules. No check-in without an adult present. You'll have to step aside." Tiana frowned. "I am a guest. My name is on the room file. My dad already confirmed it. You can even call him." The manager's voice turned cold. "I said step aside. Security, please escort her out." Tiana's heart dropped. "Excuse me." A uniformed security guard walked over. Guests were now whispering, some pointing, some confused. One woman reached for her phone. The security guard didn't shout, but he stood close, firm. "Miss, please come with me." Tiana held her ground. "I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to wait in the lobby. My dad is on his way." "No waiting. You're not a guest until you're checked in," the manager snapped. Tiana looked around. No one helped. The staff looked away. Some guests turned their backs. Only one little boy tugged at his mom's sleeve and whispered, "Why are they kicking her out?" But the mom hushed him. Tiana picked up her bag slowly, holding back tears. She stepped outside. The door closed behind her with a loud click. She stood on the sidewalk, her suitcase by her side. It was a warm afternoon, but she felt cold. She stared at the sky for a moment. Then she took out her phone. Her fingers shook a little. She opened her messages and typed only one sentence. "Dad, they threw me out." She pressed send. Then she waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. And then her phone buzzed. "Dad, what hotel? Who spoke to you? I'm 12 minutes away. Stay right there." Tiana looked up. Her eyes were still wet, but her face changed. She knew her dad, and she knew when he said stay right there, something serious was about to happen. Inside the hotel, the manager laughed with the receptionist. "These kids think they can walk in and demand respect," he said. The receptionist nodded. "Good thing we got her out fast. She was probably lying." But then someone whispered, Sir." The manager turned. Through the front glass doors, a black SUV pulled up silently. Its tires rolled smoothly over the brick road. The windows were dark. The hotel valet backed away without being told. The doors didn't open right away. The manager frowned. What now? The doors clicked, and a man stepped out. Tall, calm, dressed in a dark gray suit, eyes sharp like a hawk. No smile. No hesitation. He walked straight toward the entrance. A bellboy near the door stopped breathing. "Who is that guy?" he whispered. No one answered. But Tiana knew, because when he stepped onto the hotel steps, he didn't look around. He looked straight at the lobby, straight at the man who made his daughter cry. And he didn't need to raise his voice. Because authority, real authority, doesn't shout. It simply arrives. It was supposed to be a happy trip. 16-year-old Tiana Cole stood at the front desk of the fancy Hillview Grand Hotel, suitcase in hand, and a polite smile on her face. She had flown in early for a youth leadership conference. Her father, Derek Cole, was landing later that evening. She would check in, rest, and wait for him. Tiana wore jeans, a neat white top, and her hair tied in a high puff. She looked confident, calm, and ready. She had done this before. She had stayed in hotels all around the country with her dad, who often traveled for work. She showed the woman at the desk her ID and the reservation confirmation on her phone. "Hi, I'm here to check in. The room is under Derek Cole." The receptionist gave a quick glance at the screen. Then she looked back at Tiana. Too long, too slow. "Is your father with you?" the woman asked, her tone flat. "No, he'll be here in a few hours," Tiana replied kindly. "He already paid. Here's the email and his ID copy, just like the booking rule said." But the woman didn't take the phone. She leaned back and folded her arms. "I'm sorry," she said. "We don't allow unaccompanied minors in this hotel. You'll have to wait outside." Tiana blinked. "But I've stayed at hotels before." This was confirmed. "I followed all the instructions." The woman glanced around. A few people behind Tiana were now watching. The receptionist sighed and called someone on the phone. She whispered quietly. Moments later, the hotel manager came out. He was a tall white man in a suit, with a fake smile and a tight jaw. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, but he wasn't really asking. Tiana repeated her story. She spoke clearly, respectfully. She showed her email again. The manager barely looked. "Sorry, young lady. This hotel has rules. No check-in without an adult present. You'll have to step aside." Tiana frowned. "I am a guest. My name is on the room file. My dad already confirmed it. You can even call him." The manager's voice turned cold. "I said step aside. Security, please escort her out." Tiana's heart dropped. "Excuse me." A uniformed security guard walked over. Guests were now whispering, some pointing, some confused. One woman reached for her phone. The security guard didn't shout, but he stood close, firm. "Miss, please come with me." Tiana held her ground. "I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to wait in the lobby. My dad is on his way." "No waiting. You're not a guest until you're checked in," the manager snapped. Tiana looked around. No one helped. The staff looked away. Some guests turned their backs. Only one little boy tugged at his mom's sleeve and whispered, "Why are they kicking her out?" But the mom hushed him. Tiana picked up her bag slowly, holding back tears. She stepped outside. The door closed behind her with a loud click. She stood on the sidewalk, her suitcase by her side. It was a warm afternoon, but she felt cold. She stared at the sky for a moment. Then she took out her phone. Her fingers shook a little. She opened her messages and typed only one sentence. "Dad, they threw me out." She pressed send. Then she waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. And then her phone buzzed. "Dad, what hotel? Who spoke to you? I'm 12 minutes away. Stay right there." Tiana looked up. Her eyes were still wet, but her face changed. She knew her dad. And she knew when he said, "Stay right there," something serious was about to happen. Inside the hotel, the manager laughed with the receptionist. "These kids think they can walk in and demand respect," he said. The receptionist nodded. "Good thing we got her out fast. She was probably lying." But then someone whispered, Sir, The manager turned. Through the front glass doors, a black SUV pulled up silently. Its tires rolled smoothly over the brick road. The windows were dark. The hotel valet backed away without being told. The doors didn't open right away. The manager frowned. What now? The doors clicked, and a man stepped out. Tall, calm, dressed in a dark gray suit. Eyes sharp like a hawk. No smile. No hesitation. He walked straight toward the entrance. A bellboy near the door stopped breathing. "Who is that guy?" he whispered. No one answered. But Tiana knew, because when he stepped onto the hotel steps, he didn't look around. He looked straight at the lobby, straight at the man who made his daughter cry. And he didn't need to raise his voice, because authority, real authority, doesn't shout. It simply arrives. The lobby of the Hillview Grand Hotel was beautiful. Tall ceilings, shiny marble floors, gold trim on everything. A giant chandelier hung over the center like it belonged in a palace. But at that moment, the beauty didn't matter. There was tension in the air. The front desk manager, Mr. Halden, was pacing. The receptionist who had turned Tiana away sat quietly, her eyes on the floor. Guests were starting to whisper. A few had seen what happened. A couple had even recorded it. "I think that girl had proof," one woman whispered to her husband. "Did they just throw her out because she was black?" Someone else asked. No one had the answers, but everyone felt it. And then, the doors opened. He walked in, calm, slow, silent. His name was Derek Cole. He didn't look angry. He didn't raise his voice, but his presence changed the room. The bellboys stood straighter. The valet moved out of the way. Even the manager suddenly felt smaller. Tiana stood just outside the glass doors. She saw her dad walk past and followed behind him. People began to whisper, "Is that her father? He looks like someone important." Mr. Halden stepped forward, forcing a smile. "Sir, how can I help you?" Derek paused, looked directly into his eyes. "Yes," he said calmly, "you can help me." Halden smiled wider. "Of course. Are you checking in?" Derek didn't blink. "I'm here because you threw my daughter out." The smile on Halden's face faded. "Sir, there must be a misunderstanding. We simply have policies." "I'm not here for excuses," Derek said, still calm. "I'm here for facts." Tiana stepped in now, standing beside her father. "This is the man you refused to speak to," she said. "I showed everything. You didn't even look." The receptionist behind the desk looked nervous. Her fingers tapped the desk fast. She knew something was wrong. Halden tried again. "We follow hotel safety policies. She's under 18. We don't allow minors to check in alone." "She had a confirmation," Derek said, pulling out his phone. "She had my ID. She followed your instructions." He leaned closer. "And you didn't ask questions. You just assumed." The lobby was quiet now. Every eye was on them. "I'll speak with the manager privately," Halden said, voice cracking. "I am speaking with the manager," Derek replied. "Unless you mean someone above you." Halden froze. Then Derek reached into his jacket. He didn't pull out a wallet. Not a credit card. Not a hotel membership. He pulled out a badge. Not a police badge. It was federal. Clean. Polished. With a name that made the receptionist gasp. "Sir," Halden whispered. We didn't know." "That's the point," Derek said, stepping closer. "You didn't ask. You didn't care. You looked at my daughter and decided she didn't belong." The receptionist finally spoke, her voice shaking. We're sorry. We didn't mean to." Derek raised a hand. "No, it's too late for sorry." He looked at his daughter. Tiana was calm, strong, but her eyes showed the pain. She didn't cry now. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than anything. A family nearby stood and clapped once. One woman whispered, "Good for them." Halden looked around nervously. Other guests were watching. Phones were recording. This was no longer private. Derek took out his phone and made a call. "Yes," he said into the phone. "Send the legal file to my email. Hillview Grand Hotel. We'll begin the inquiry now." He hung up. Halden panicked. "Please, sir, can we handle this quietly?" It was a mistake. "No," Derek said. "It was a decision. One your staff made without thinking. And now you'll face the results." A young staff member near the back whispered to a coworker, "Wait, is he military?" "No," the other said. "Higher. I think he works in federal intelligence." Derek looked back at the manager one last time. "I want to speak to the owner of this hotel. Immediately. But he's not in today," Halden stammered. "Call him," Derek said, voice low. "He'll want to hear what happened before the media does." Then he turned to his daughter. "Come on, Tiana. We'll wait in the lobby. It's finally your place too." They walked past the front desk, past the receptionist, past the security guard who had once pushed her out the door, and sat calmly on a leather couch. Just as they did, another text came to Tiana's phone. From an unknown number. "We saw the video. The truth is out. We're with you." She showed it to her dad. He smiled, just a little. Because this story wasn't just about a hotel. It was about what happens when silence is broken, and the world finally listens. Tiana sat on the hotel bed in silence. The room was big, full of soft lights and fancy furniture, but she didn't care about that. She held her phone in her hands, staring at the screen. Her face was everywhere now. The video had gone viral. Someone in the hotel lobby had recorded the moment she was thrown out, and the moment her father walked in like thunder. The video was less than 3 minutes long, but it had changed everything. 12 hours earlier, it had started with a single post. A woman named Joanna Carter, a guest at the hotel, had shared the clip online. She wrote, "This young girl was thrown out of Hillview Grand Hotel just because she was alone and black." Moments later, her father walked in, and what he said shook the entire place. "Watch this." People clicked, people watched, and people shared. It spread fast, first across Facebook, then on Twitter, then Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. By morning, it had been seen over 2 million times. By afternoon, it was trending worldwide. Back in the room, Tiana's phone buzzed again. "Are you okay?" Unknown number. Another message popped up. "You're so brave. You spoke for all of us." Her inbox was flooded with messages, some from strangers, some from kids, some from adults who had stayed silent for years. Derek, her father, sat beside her, watching the news on the hotel TV. The screen showed news anchors talking fast. Shocking footage from Hillview Grand Hotel. Young black teen treated unfairly during check-in. Father revealed to be a federal agent. Tiana finally spoke. "Why are people acting like I'm some hero?" Her dad looked at her gently. "Because you stood your ground when others would have given up." Tiana frowned. "I just wanted to check in. That's all. I wasn't trying to fight anyone." "You didn't fight," he said. "You told the truth. And sometimes, that's more powerful than any fight." Across the country, in a small middle school in Detroit, a black girl named Aaliyah sat in class. She pulled out her phone and showed the video to her friend. "See her? That's what I'm talking about." Her friend watched as Tiana stood calmly while being turned away, then watched the moment her dad entered. "That's wild," her friend whispered. "She looks like us." "She is us," Aaliyah said, nodding. Meanwhile, at the hotel, staff members were acting differently now. Some were nervous, some were ashamed, a few were angry, but silent. The receptionist who had kicked Tiana out was gone. So was Mr. Halden. The hotel had released a public apology. But it wasn't enough. People had started canceling their bookings. Activists were outside with signs. "Respect ISNTRESERVED." Silence is violence. We are Tiana. The hotel owner flew in that evening. He was furious, but not at Tiana. He asked to meet her privately. "I'm sorry," he said, "not just for what happened to you, but for the fact that it took a video to make us care." Tiana didn't say much. She didn't need to. That night, a talk show host mentioned her name. A radio DJ played a song and said, "This one's for the girl who didn't stay quiet." A university reached out, offering her a full scholarship, years ahead of time. But the most surprising message came around midnight. Derek was the first to read it. It was from a white teenage boy in Georgia, a stranger. He wrote, "My dad always talks bad about people like you. I used to believe him. Then I saw your video. Now I see things differently. I'm sorry for being part of the problem. I want to be better." Tiana read the message twice, and for the first time that day, she smiled. The bigger picture. This wasn't just about a hotel. This wasn't just about a mistake. This was about all the silent moments when people were judged, rejected, ignored. Tiana had unknowingly become a voice, a symbol, a mirror. People saw themselves in her pain, and they saw hope in her calm strength. Tiana never planned to be famous. She didn't ask for attention. She didn't expect praise. All she wanted was a simple check-in, a place to stay before her dad finished his work trip. But now, she was on TV. Now she was on magazine covers. Now, people in other countries were saying her name. 3 days later, Washington, D.C., Tiana sat in a black car, holding her father's hand. She looked out the window and saw tall buildings, police cars, and reporters with cameras. "Dad, why are we here?" Her father smiled gently. "They want to hear your story." "Who's they?" Derek didn't answer. He wanted her to see it herself. When the car stopped, 2 security officers opened the door. The crowd outside gasped and started taking pictures. Tiana stepped out slowly, and then she saw it. The U.S. Capitol building. She blinked. "You mean, them?" Derek chuckled. "Yes, them. Inside the Capitol." Tiana sat at a long table. Across from her sat senators, congressmen, lawyers, and leaders from different backgrounds. A woman with silver hair leaned forward. "Tiana, we're holding this session to talk about racial bias in public places. We saw your video. We read your story. But we'd like to hear it from you." Tiana froze for a moment. She looked at her father. He nodded. She took a breath. And then she spoke. Her words were simple, but strong. "I didn't go to the hotel to make a point. I just went to check in. I had my name on the booking. I had my ID. I had my dad's permission. But they didn't see any of that. They just saw me, a young black girl, alone. And that was enough for them to say, 'You don't belong here.'" The room was silent. She continued, "I wasn't angry at first. I was confused. Then I was embarrassed. Then hurt. But I realized something. I could either leave quietly or speak loudly. I chose to speak. A new kind of attention." That moment was broadcast live. Across the country, people watched as a 15-year-old girl told the truth to the most powerful people in the country. TV hosts called her the voice of a new generation. School teachers showed her video to students. Celebrities reposted her speech. But Tiana stayed grounded. She didn't want to be a symbol. She just wanted the world to understand. "I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for equal treatment." Back at home, Tiana returned to her regular life. But nothing was the same. Her school welcomed her back with flowers and cheers. The principal held an assembly. Even kids who never spoke to her before were now saying, "You're awesome, Tiana." But she didn't let it get to her head. She still did her homework, still helped her mom cook, still walked her dog in the evening. But something had changed in her heart. She felt bigger, not in ego, in purpose. And then came the letter. One afternoon, a thick envelope arrived. It had a gold seal and a return address from a place Tiana didn't recognize. She opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter. It read, "Dear Tiana, your courage has reached far beyond one hotel. It has touched the hearts of leaders, families, and children. We would be honored to invite you to speak at the United Nations Youth Assembly this summer. The world needs voices like yours. Sincerely, Office of the UN Youth Affairs." Tiana looked at her dad. "I don't even know what to say." Derek smiled. "You already said it, sweetheart." And the world listened. Later that night, she sat by her window, watching the stars. She thought about that hotel. She thought about that moment. And she whispered to herself, "They tried to throw me out, but now I've been invited in." The day had finally come. Tiana stood in front of a mirror, holding the white envelope from the United Nations. Her hands shook a little. She wasn't scared. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. From hotel room to world stage. Just a few weeks ago, she had been crying outside a hotel lobby. Hurt, confused, embarrassed. Now she was flying to New York City to speak in front of leaders from over 100 countries, all because she chose to speak up when it would have been easier to stay quiet. The plane ride. On the flight, Tiana stared out the window, deep in thought. Beside her, Derek looked proud. He didn't say much, but his eyes said everything. The pilot made an announcement. "Welcome aboard, everyone. Special welcome to our young guest of honor, Miss Tiana Cross, who is heading to represent youth voices at the United Nations." The whole plane clapped. Tiana blushed, her heart beating fast. The woman in the seat ahead turned around. "Is that really you, honey?" Tiana nodded shyly. The woman smiled warmly. "Then I want you to know, my granddaughter watched your video and said she wants to be brave like you." Tiana smiled. She didn't know what to say. Arrival in New York. The city was loud, fast, and alive. Lights flashed. Cars honked. People rushed down streets. But inside the giant UN building, it was quiet, calm, important. Tiana wore a navy blue dress and small silver earrings. She was led into a large hall with flags from every country. She took a deep breath and walked to the podium. All eyes were on her. The speech that silenced the world. She looked around. At leaders. At students. At world changers. Then she began. "My name is Tiana Cross. I'm 15 years old. A month ago, I was treated like I didn't belong, just because of my skin color. I was judged before I spoke. I was rejected before I explained. But I stood my ground. And now, I stand here. Not just for me. For every child who's been told you're not enough. For every girl who was ignored. For every voice that was never heard." The room stayed completely still. What happened to me was not just about one hotel. It was about a system. But change doesn't always start with big laws. Sometimes change starts with one person saying, "No, this isn't right," and refusing to move. A tear fell from someone in the front row. Then came applause. Slow, then loud, then thunderous. Some leaders stood up. Some clapped with tears in their eyes. Tiana stepped back. She had said her truth, and the world had listened. Later that evening, Tiana and her father sat on a rooftop, watching the skyline glow under the stars. She leaned on his shoulder. "Dad, do you think this will really change anything?" Derek looked at her. "Sweetheart, you've already changed something." She stayed quiet. He continued, "You changed you, and you showed others they can change too." Back in her hometown, posters were being printed with her quote, "I stood my ground. Now I stand for others." A scholarship was created in her name. Children at her old school wrote letters saying, "You made me feel seen. I'm proud of my skin now. You gave me courage." And parents wrote too. One letter said, I didn't realize how blind I'd been. Because of your daughter, I finally listened. And I'll never stop listening again. One final moment. Before leaving New York, a hotel manager from a nearby luxury hotel came to see her. He handed her a gold card. This is our lifetime VIP card. You can stay at any of our hotels, anytime, for free. You've earned it. Tiana smiled. She didn't need the card. She didn't care about the rooms or the food. But it felt like the world was trying, at last, to do better. And that meant something. The world had changed, because she didn't stay silent. She started with pain. She spoke with courage. And now, she stood with purpose. The invitation had changed her life. But more importantly, she had changed lives everywhere. 1 year had passed. 1 year since the hotel threw her out. 1 year since she stood in front of powerful people. 1 year since a soft but strong voice echoed across the world. And Tiana, she had grown. Not just taller, not just older, but stronger, wiser, and more sure of who she was. Back where it all began, on a sunny afternoon, Tiana returned to the city where it all happened. Same streets, same weather, same hotel. But this time, she wasn't walking in with a backpack. She walked in with a film crew. The documentary. A team from a global news network had been following her for months. They wanted to show the full story. From that first day in the hotel, to her speech at the UN, to the letters, the awards, the protests, and the change. Now she stood outside the hotel where it all began. The place that once said, "You don't belong here." She looked at the camera. "I don't hate them," she said softly, "but I'll never forget." Then she walked inside, with confidence in every step. Inside the lobby. The front desk had new staff now. The old manager had been fired 6 months after the incident. And guess what? The hotel now had new training programs. They taught respect, diversity, fairness. A woman behind the counter smiled. "Can I help you?" Tiana smiled back. "No, I just came to see how far we've come." The woman tilted her head. "Wait, are you?" Tiana nodded. "Yes, I'm the girl you read about." The woman's eyes went wide. She stepped around the counter and said, "I just want to say, thank you." A new mission begins. Later that night, Tiana and her father held a small event in a nearby school. There were children from every background: black, white, Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern. The stage was small. The lights were soft, but the message was big. Tiana stood in front of them and said, "I know how it feels to be told you don't belong. But I'm here to tell you, you do. Not because of where you come from, not because of who your parents are, but because you are enough. Right now, just as you are." The kids clapped. Some cried. Some hugged her. One boy whispered, "I was going to quit school, but I won't anymore." The surprise guest. Suddenly, the doors at the back opened. A tall woman walked in with a folder in her hands. It was a government official from the Department of Education. She spoke into the mic. "Tiana Cross, because of your impact, the government is launching a new youth program across all 50 states. It will train teachers to listen better, help students speak up, and remind everyone that respect is not optional." The room stood up in applause. Tiana wiped a tear. Derek put his arm around her shoulders. "You did that, sweetheart." A letter to the world. That night, Tiana posted a message online. Not a selfie, not a quote, just her heart. Asterisk asterisk to every kid who feels ignored, I see you. To every teen who was treated unfairly, I believe you. To every adult who thinks young people don't matter, listen again. I was thrown out of a hotel, but now I've walked through bigger doors. And I won't stop until every child feels welcome, everywhere. Asterisk asterisk. The post was shared over 12 million times. from cities in the U.S. to villages in Africa, to classrooms in India, to homes in Brazil. The world was listening. A new future. Chiana didn't go back to being just a student. She was now a youth ambassador, a speaker, a writer, a voice. She still did her chores, still played with her dog, still watched cartoons. But now she also visited schools, met with leaders, and helped build a future where no one would go through what she did. She had become something no one expected, not just a survivor, a symbol. The story ends, but the movement begins. Chiana didn't want fame. She wanted fairness. She didn't want revenge. She wanted respect. And she didn't want to be remembered as a victim. She wanted to be remembered as a light that shined through hate, fear, and silence, and showed the world one voice, one moment, one girl can still change everything. A year had passed since Tiana's name made headlines. She had spoken at the UN. She had helped start a youth movement. She had visited 20 schools in 10 states. People called her the voice of respect. But life wasn't done testing her. Not yet. Back to normal life. Chiana tried to live a normal life again. She still went to high school. She studied hard. She kept her circle small. Most people admired her. But a few. They whispered behind her back. She thinks she's famous now. She got lucky. She's just a hotel girl. At first, she ignored it. But one day, she couldn't. The school debate. Her school held a public speaking competition. The topic, who gets to be a leader? Tiana signed up. Not to prove anything, just to share. But on the day of the event, something strange happened. Her name was removed from the list. When she asked the teacher, he said, "We thought someone else deserved a chance this time. You already had your moment." She was shocked. The rule had always been anyone could compete. But now, she wasn't just a student. She was someone others wanted to silence. Again, whispers and wounds. Word spread around school. She's too dramatic. She just wants attention. She already got her fame. Tiana felt like she was back in that hotel. Being pushed out, quietly, without reason. She went home and sat in silence. Her father noticed. "Want to talk?" he asked. She nodded. "I thought I'd moved past this," she whispered. "But people still want me quiet." Derek looked at her for a moment. Then he said, "Sometimes speaking up once isn't enough. Sometimes the world tests you twice to see if you meant it." The letter that went viral. Again. That night, Tiana wrote an open letter on her school's online board. "I don't need a trophy. I don't need a stage. But I do need fairness. Don't fear my voice. Join it. Leadership isn't about being seen once. It's about showing up again and again, even when it hurts." A student took a screenshot, posted it to TikTok. The video got 3 million views overnight. The school's response. The next day, the principal called her in. He apologized. The teacher who removed her name stepped down from the event. Tiana was invited back to speak, not just at the debate, but at the school assembly. There, in front of 1,000 students, she spoke from the heart. Leadership doesn't mean talking the loudest. It means standing firm when others want you silent. Even when your hands shake, even when your voice cracks. The whole gym stood up and clapped. Some students had tears in their eyes. Even the teacher who doubted her gave a small, respectful nod. The real test was quiet. Later that evening, a quiet student from 9th grade tapped her shoulder. "I just want to say, I was going to drop out," he whispered. "But you made me think maybe I should stay." Tiana smiled gently. That was the moment she realized. The real test wasn't the speech. It wasn't the debate. It wasn't the news, or the fame, or the noise. The real test was in the silence. When no one was watching. When only one person needed hope. And she gave it. Final words. Some stories never end. Tiana's story wasn't about one hotel, or one speech, or even 1 year. It was about choosing courage, again and again. And no matter how many doors tried to close, she would always walk through them. Because she knew now, real strength isn't proven once. It's proven every time someone tries to take your voice. And you keep speaking anyway.